Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Mike Check. I am your host, Mike, and I appreciate you all being here. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what this podcast has done for me. I know that the idea of this podcast was to make an impact in somebody's life. Now, we do the various interviews here where people share their testimony and I interact with them. This week is going to be a little bit different. When I don't have guests, then I will get on here and talk a little bit. Now, this being a fledgling podcast, I don't have a long running list of people waiting in line to come on here. And I do reach out to people and invite them. And as you can tell, giving a testimony can be a difficult thing for people. Not everybody's in a place where they're ready to share a testimony. Not everybody's in a place where they're comfortable on camera. Not everybody really wants to share their testimony, and that's okay. Just if they're ready, they're ready. If they're not, they're not. If they're available, they're available. It's kind of, there's just so many different things. Working this thing by myself, and so I invite people. I don't have producers out there trying to invite talent, I guess, those individuals. So we kind of are flying by the seat of our pants here, as well as this week is a little different because I will have with having a studio comes somebody that owns the building, and landlords like to maintain their places. Well, at least good landlords like to maintain their places. And we have very studious landlords here that like to make sure that everything is working appropriately, and they plan on coming in here. Usually I try to record on Sunday mornings, and the landlords plan on coming in and doing some work Sunday mornings as to not bother the rest of the tenants who are usually in here Monday through Friday. So with that being said, this week it's going to be me sharing with you, and I'm okay with that because what I really would like to share with you, as I started out with, is the idea of this podcast is to make an impact in somebody's life. Just one individual's life is all we really concern ourselves with here, right? And I just want to share with you as an individual who my life has been impacted by this podcast. And with that being said, I just thought, what a better way to encourage others to come on here and tell them what a difference that they're making. I thought I would come on here, God would use me to make a difference. And what I've really found is that He has used this podcast to make a difference in my life. How is that so? Well, when we spend time at places with people in our lives, we all have got people that we spend time with, or regardless if it's at work or if it's at church or social events or community events or sporting events, kids' soccer games and baseball games, things like that. We have people that we spend our time with, people that we know, right? We say we know. That isn't always the case, though, as I'm finding through this podcast. You see, I've had the opportunity to sit in this room and another room before we had this room with some pretty incredible people that I spent uh, I would say a decent amount of time with, more than the average, being I'm not a super social person. I'm more of the individual one-on-one. So in large crowds, I tend to try to blend into a corner, especially if there's people I don't know. These people that I've had in here, Steve, we're getting up to the point where I probably won't remember everybody's name, and I don't mean to leave anybody out, but Paul, Fred, Jeff, even my wife, when she did her testimony. I've been with Melissa for 13 years now, and we've shared our stories. Obviously, she's my wife. We talk. She knows my past. I know her past. I know the things she's done, the things she's been through. And that's all well and good. I appreciate my wife so much for knowing the things that she's been through. She's such a miracle. But in sitting in a room, especially with it being our bedroom at the time where we used to film this podcast, I sat with my wife and I just listened to her pour her heart out, pour her story out. And man, what amazing opportunity to sit there and listen to how God has impacted my wife. And again, I know her story, But to sit there and listen to it, like reading a book, like an audiobook being read to you aloud, just line by line and going through it in some detail. Obviously, she's my wife and my job's to protect her. And so we don't share all the gruesome, gory detail. I protect her and make sure she still is able to hold her head up and people aren't going to attack her. But I think she did an amazing job. And what a blessing it was to sit in that interview and just listen to her. And again, that just woke me up to what an amazing miracle my wife is. Now, this podcast episode isn't to sit here and brag on my wife, because I could do that all day long. She is my Ezra Kenegdo, my helpmate, my just better half, right? And that's how we should feel about our wives. Ladies, you should feel that way about your husband. If you don't, you should really be working on that, both of you. Anyhow, I digress. So sitting in these rooms and like with Paul, I thought, man, here's a guy that I had a super great relationship with. We've spent quite a bit of time together, and I've gotten to know Paul on a pretty decent level. And I would consider Paul a friend, a close friend. And, I know him better than I know a lot of people. Before even the interview, I knew Paul better than I knew a lot of people that I knew growing up, people from my past, just in spending the time and getting to know him. But sitting in a room with Paul and listening to his testimony from cover to cover, man, do I feel like I know Paul. And Fred. Fred, if you see Fred in a, communal environment, he's an amazing teacher. He's great communicator, but he's not really the guy that gets out and makes himself really known. He kind of sits quietly and allows people to come to him. And so I've gotten to build a relationship. I wouldn't say I knew Fred, but I knew of Fred, and we had a pretty cordial relationship. And he was a brother, and we spoke together in men's group and at church and things like that. But having him come in here and share his testimony with me, it's like I just love Fred. And again, we go to Steve, and Steve is a brother from church. He was one of the first people that I met coming to Tennessee. He lives next door to me. Uh, we have had a tremendous relationship. I've been involved in some very, very impactful times in his life and in his wife's life, walked along some difficult times with them. They have walked along, and he's counseled me in some very difficult times in my life, in some of the things that I've had to deal with, that he's had experience with, that God just led me to know that he was the one person that I could trust in that moment. And I mean, we knew each other. He was a dear friend, dear brother. He still is. But to sit in a room again and listen to his testimony, I am getting to know these people that I have spent time with in the past few years. And I'm getting to know them on so much more of a deeper level, an intimate level, like brothers. Like, like I know these guys almost as well as I know my brothers now. And obviously, there's still things. All of us have things in our testimonies that we weren't willing to share, or that still need to come out in future episodes. Things that maybe we've forgot. This is kind of the common theme when doing these interviews. Is we've all back and like, oh, I meant to share that, or I wanted to share that, but the one thing we don't do here is we don't script things. We don't write things out. We just get to just experience it as it's happening. Just we're kind of ad lib here, just telling it from the heart, not reading scripts. And again, Jeff, getting to know Jeff, just what a tremendous, you wouldn't know that Jeff had the experiences that Jeff had in his life getting to know Jeff. And he's such an amazing, amazing man. And now I'm not telling you these things because I'm trying to puff these guys up, or I'm trying to build these guys up, or anything like that. If you got to know them, you'd know what I meant. But to sit in a room with them, and I hope this is what this podcast is doing for you too, is getting you to know people on an intimate level, real people, like just your average, everyday, ordinary person, people that have been through some tremendous, horrible, difficult times in their life. And looking back, you can see how God has sculpted them, how he has shaped them, how he has been there through their lives and brought them through. And even in the bad times, like each one of us, many of us walked a similar paths, and how what may have worked for me may not have worked for them, and vice versa, and how God knows that intimate relationship, and he knows exactly what we need to bring us to where we need to be so that we cry out to him. And then we can all say that we can look back on those times and not regret any of them, even the most difficult times. The majority of the theme is in even in the pain, the suffering, the muck, the mire, like we'd be willing to go through it all over again to know what he has built us for today, to be who we are today, and knowing that we still have so much growth. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on Mike Check Real Life. I just wanted to break in here real quick and give you a quick thank you. Ask a couple of favors from you. I know you don't owe us anything, but if you wouldn't mind liking, subscribing, sharing our content with somebody you think it might impact, that would mean so much to us. We really desire to reach those that could use some hope in such dark times. Also, if you're listening on one of the many audio podcast sites, such as Apple or Spotify or Amazon, if you wouldn't mind giving us a review, we'd really appreciate that. You can tell us what you like about the podcast. You can tell us what you don't like about the podcast. That'll help us shape things. And tell us what you'd like to see in the future. That'll help us kind of put some content together for you. And everybody, please comment, ask questions. We'd love to carry the conversation on further in the comment section. So please ask questions, make comments. We'd love to be able to have a conversation. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get back to our episode. Thank you so much for your time and God bless. Now, none of us have achieved ultimate perfection. I don't want to put that across at all. We are all human beings trying to better ourselves. And this podcast has actually been part of that. You see, one of my constant prayers, I mentioned it when I was talking with Fred, how I've not been a nice guy. I was never a nice guy. If I was nice in the past, it was because maybe ulterior motives or, well, probably usually ulterior motives, because that's the kind of individual I was. It was a survival skill that I built based on the life that I'd led. And in the words of Duke, you don't know what you don't know, right? So I didn't know that he was going to use his podcast to answer that prayer. And what he's doing is this heart of stone is gradually turning into a heart of flesh. Even in my walk, I try to be cordial, but I've continually prayed, Lord, please let me see people through your eyes. Let me learn to love people. Let me not be hard like I used to. Let me be softer, gentler, kinder, peaceful. Just let me exhibit the fruits of the Spirit. And it's always been a challenge for me. Again, we'll tell you, if you don't know what the fruits of the Spirit are, Google fruit of the Spirit and you'll find out where that passage is and read a Bible for yourself. I'm not a teacher. I'm a guy just sharing from the heart. With that being said, I did not realize that this podcast was going to be what he used to help me start gaining some of the fruit of this. I can tell the difference just in, I think we're going on the end of the second month now. I can tell the difference on how I'm feeling about people. I sincerely love people. These people that I'm getting to spend time with, I'm so blessed. I'm starting to want to talk to people more. I'm starting to not feel so uncomfortable in large crowds. Now, in the past, I spent a lot of time in large crowds, but I always had to self-medicate to be in that environment. You see, I am an introvert. Even though I don't act like an introvert, I am an introvert. I prefer to be in a quiet place by myself, not really interacting with many people. Again, that was a survival skill that I learned. It wasn't safe to be around a lot of people. But again, I spent a lot of time in the past around a lot of people, again, self-medicated so that I could handle it. But now I don't feel the need to self-medicate. And the very cool thing about it is when I get into large crowds, I'm very open about that. Like, I don't like crowds. I don't like lots of people. Not that I don't like people, but I don't like lots of people in one place. I feel claustrophobic. I feel just uneasy. But that's changing, and I'm starting to feel more comfortable. I got to go to Paul's house not too long ago for an evening event. We were celebrating his wife's birthday, and the house was full. It was packed. And normally I would last about 5 minutes, and I would have, in the Army, we would have said, pop the smoke. I would have been out of there real quick. But I was able to sit there, and not only just sit there, like Paul will tell you, I will sit there and I'll be quiet and I will watch everybody waiting for the foot to drop, the shoe to drop, whatever that saying is. And this time I was able to engage. I was able to talk. I was able to interact and be sociable. At church now, I find myself willing to stand around and talk a little bit more. Like, my wife is a social butterfly. Melissa, she likes to talk to everybody. I take her places and I just go, get your social interaction in, because I'm not much of a social person and I know she needs that. And so it's fun to watch her flit about and talk to everybody and hug everybody and love on everybody. And she's such an encouraging person. And me, not so much. And now I'm finding that I'm actually willing to hang out and talk to people and spend time and hug people, even people that I don't know really well. Like, I used to be kind of arm's distance guy, like, stand back, don't get too close to me, elbow, knuckles, high five. But I'm finding that I'm really more open to hugging now, um, telling people that I love them, sharing time with people, even if it's just a couple minutes. And again, it's happening more and more through this podcast. It's just been amazing. It's been so, I don't know. I just don't know how else to put it. How else has this podcast affected me? Well, when I started this, I've shared the story that it was over a year that I really struggled with coming back in front of a camera. I've done the podcast thing, I've done the broadcast thing, and I never wanted this to be about ego. I never wanted it to be about pride. I never wanted it to be about me. I wanted it to be something that made kingdom impact. I wanted it to be for his purpose, not just a purpose. I'm very adamant that this needs to be about his purpose. We're not here for entertainment. Now, we want to do some things for interaction, and we want to make sure that you're enjoying the podcast. But ultimately, if it's not feeding the kingdom, if it's not benefiting the kingdom, then I have no business being here. Everything in my life now needs to benefit the kingdom, everything. So I've said from the beginning that this podcast was all about, reaching the one. And that was in the wrestling with him about whether or not I should be doing this. And I just was very clear, God, if this is not you, I don't want to be in it. I don't want it to be about me. And I just felt that he was telling me, now this wasn't an audible voice. It wasn't like this screaming, thunder lightning from the mountaintops, listen to me, Mike. It wasn't nothing like that. But I just felt in my spirit that he was saying, don't make it about you, Mike. Make it about me. Much like I left the 99 to chase the one, why don't you just worry about the one? Everybody else will work it out. He's got everything in a plan, right? And so that's what we drive for. And initially, in the beginning, I was spending a lot of time trying to put out content. Even if I wasn't recording an episode, I was like cutting pieces out of the episode to share on social media to try to draw attention and everything. And it got overwhelming. And in my prayer time, I just felt him telling me it's not supposed to be overwhelming. And are you making it about you? Are you trying to push this and make this happen? Or are you going to let me do what I do? And so you'll notice if you follow me on social media, or even here, if you're on YouTube, I used to put out a bunch of YouTube shorts. Now I might put out one or two for an episode, but I'm not interested in this becoming my entire life and focus and entertainment. I really, truly want to see him work. And so the only way it's going to be obvious that he works is if I put not, I don't want to sound like if I put very little into it, because it deserves everything. He's in it, and this is what he's had me do. But he's also got me doing other things. And I need to give them time too. I can't let anything that he has my hands doing, I can't have any of that take a back seat to any of the other. I've got to give everything equal time. And so I'm just going to watch it grow. And the only way that it's going to grow is if he's in it, right? And he's going to lead it on whoever's heart to share. He's going to lead it on whoever's heart to comment. He's going to lead it on whoever's heart to follow, to like, subscribe, all of the things that I ask you to do in the bumper that I throw out there. He's going to lead that. I can't. And the only way that's going to be obvious is if I don't push it and I allow him to do it. So again, I had a really amazing experience here recently in that I did have somebody contact us. I did have somebody contact the hotline. And, we do have a specific phone number for the podcast here. Obviously, it wouldn't be wise to put my personal phone number out or my work phone number out. So I have a third line specifically for this podcast that I don't carry the phone around. I have an AI agent that answers the phone and will take Bible requests or prayer requests, and then we monitor that. But I had an individual reach out lately and make contact, and I did contact him back, and we talked, and it was a great conversation. It was just before I went on vacation, and I really enjoyed talking to him, and it really meant so much for me that he reached out. And the phenomenal thing is through interaction and a couple other gentlemen that I had said, hey, I'm going on vacation. Would you guys mind staying in contact so that the ball doesn't get dropped? This is an individual that reached out and is looking for fellowship and looking for community. And they did. They reached out and they contacted him. And matter of fact, I got to actually meet him. He came to church. And it seemed like initially he may have had a little bit of trepidation coming into a new place. But by the end of the evening, especially in the communal time after service, to meet him and to see his face and how he was communicating with everybody and seemed to be enjoying himself, and how so many other brothers came around him and built relationships and it was like all I could think of is, as I was watching them love on him and watching him soak it up, just seeing the joy in his eyes from fellowship, I thought to myself, if God ended this podcast right now, it made a difference in somebody's life. I really felt like this podcast made a difference in somebody's life, and it's much like reaching out to Duke when I interviewed him to be able to tell him he made a difference in my life, and finding out that he had one other young man that he worked with when that young man was a child. And Duke made an impact in his life. For Duke to have two people in his life that can tell him from that long ago what an impact they made, and see the joy in Duke's face, just knowing he made a difference. Before me, he made a difference in one guy's life, and he loved that so much. The guy was a groomsman in his wedding. And then for me to be able to come back into Duke's life and Duke to come back into my life, and for me to be able to tell Duke what an impact he made and what a difference he made. And look, I'm okay, and here I am. And to watch Duke be excited about that and be emotional about that, it really meant a lot. But more so to watch this guy interact that was reached through this podcast. Somebody shared the podcast with him and he watched it and he reached out to me, and God used that moment to encourage him to come out of his shell and come fellowship with some other people, some like-minded people, and to sit back and watch people love on him and him absorb that. I just felt like, man, if this podcast ended today, I think I achieved what I was supposed to achieve. I feel like it was a success. We made a difference in one person's life. And that's not me. That's not me. It was a heathen past in my podcasting past. But that was training ground, even back then, for me to do this now and to be a medium for a testimony to get out and reach that guy. It was phenomenal to experience that. And I'd be okay today if that were the impact that this podcast was supposed to make. And you all watching this and sharing this is what made that. Obviously, God using this medium and encouraging you to share it. It's nothing that I did other than turn on a camera and a microphone and trained in the past. And I'm so grateful for the ability to be a part of that small little seed, the faith of a mustard seed, right? The smallest seed becomes the largest bush, and birds build a nest in it. Again, if you don't know your Bible, look up the mustard seed parable. And so, anyway, this podcast has impacted me tremendously. All glory to God for putting it on my heart to do this again. And to repent for questioning whether it was supposed to be or wasn't supposed to be. And I'm grateful that I listened. And there's a Hebrew song called Deepening, which basically means, in a nutshell, had you only allowed this, it would have been enough, right? If I'd only got to do one episode, it had been enough. But I got to do 2 episodes and meet some people, and that would have been enough. And now I've got a studio, and that would have been enough. And then I got to re-engage with my mentor from my past, a man who made a tremendous impact in my life. Dianu, it would have been enough. And then to meet a gentleman in my congregation who was impacted because I was obedient, it would have been enough. And I don't know how much further this goes. I don't know what else God will do. I'm baffled. I struggle sometimes with, like, should I be the one that gets to do this? Now, that's not questioning him. He's God. He knows who he wants to choose for what he wants to choose them for. He gets to use people for for whatever reason he chooses to use them. And so I'm not questioning that. I hope you hear my heart here in the fact that this really is more about gratitude. Like, I don't deserve anything that he's given me, pouring out abundance. He keeps filling my cup. It's like my cup runneth over. I used to have holes in my cup. You could never fill it up. And now I'm so grateful and so content with just where I am. And so, if nothing else ever comes of this, I'm content in knowing that it made a difference. And I have all of you to thank for that. Ultimately, I have him to thank for that, my wife to thank for supporting me in this. I'm going to go ahead and click through some camera views here real quick. I want you to see in the studio. You can obviously see the setup behind me. I wish I could get a little better shot of that entire shelf behind me. This is what the camera picks up right now, but I'm just going to kind of click through the room. I'm going to give you all I got this new switcher and I got some more cameras, and I've been fighting with this technology. Again, one camera would have been enough, right? But here we go. And it has been a frustration for me, but I made it through without breaking anything or losing my temper. But I just want you to see how my wife has supported me in all of this, and what she's worked so hard. And this doesn't do it justice. I wish I had a PTZ camera. And I'm not saying that because I'm ungrateful for the gear that I have. It was just a PTC camera would let you just kind of zoom around the entire room. I can only do some quick clips through here, but I'm going to go ahead and clip through. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast audio, I really would encourage you, just on this episode at least, to go to youtube.com, Mike Check Real Life, and watch the video so you could see what Melissa has done with this space. It's just, I look around and it blesses my heart. I mean, I could get emotional. It has just been amazing watching how much she does around here. So, in her very, very busy schedule, and it's been late nights, early mornings, and days off, she's been in here doing a lot of this. So here is our camera 2 picture. You'll see and I wish it would come up so much clearer on there. I've got 4K cameras, but it's only able to do, I guess, 1080p through this software. So it's kind of blurry in the background. And let me see if I can maybe do the close-up shot. These cameras do have a close-up option, and let me see if I can get them to possibly zoom in. I don't know if they will or not. Here we go. You can see in the background on that one, and then we'll switch over here to camera 3. So that was camera 2. There's camera 3 again. That's probably a little bit. There we go. Oh, there we go. So you can see some pictures back there, but I don't know if you can actually read those. And that shot's probably too close, so you won't be able to read them. But anyway, she got me some really nice pictures. And there is camera 4. Again, we'll see if we can't back this out, and you can see those nice little pictures. Eventually, we'll get a PTZ camera in here, and you all will get to see. But my wife has just done an amazing job, and I just want to tell her thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting this. And I hope you all would appreciate this. It's been so awesome as we grow. But again, it would have been enough if this is what it gets. Here I am now, camera 1. This has been exciting for me. Actually, if you knew the fight that this equipment has given me, I've been working on this for a better part of a month, trying to get all of these cameras working. As we don't have a budget, this all comes out of my pocket. And so, I had to find the most affordable cameras I could. And I did buy a used switcher, and it turned out that it didn't work. The switcher itself worked. However, the USB port out would not read out, and so I couldn't pick up any of the cameras. The monitor that I have here with all of my cameras on it was donated by my friend Evan. I have a very cheap, probably one of the cheapest audio boards that you can find. Like all of this stuff, some of this stuff came off of Temu, just like the light I'm using right up here. But, because we got to be frugal, this is all coming out of my pocket. We haven't asked anybody for anything. And, I've got friends that are telling me I should ask for help and put up a link for that, but I'm praying through that. And anyway, back to the whole premise, like Dainu, like it would have been enough. It just all would have been enough. I couldn't ask for anything more. The reconnection with an old friend, the getting to know brothers on a more intimate level, to get to know my wife on a more intimate level, to have a studio space, to be able to do something that I absolutely love, the opportunity to get to sit with more individuals as I invite them in and get to know them. Maybe some that I've never met, maybe some that I've known for a long time, but don't really know their story. I did recently have a brother reach out to me from an old congregation, again, 25 years ago, probably. I mean, I think it was like 1998, 1999, 2000-ish, maybe even that last time I saw him. So I'm pretty sure it was probably closer to 2000. And he reached out to me and he wants to interview me for his podcast. Now, we were supposed to do that before I went on vacation, but he ended up getting sick. And so we've got to reschedule. So when I do that interview, I will maybe post a link or something. So anybody that's interested can go and support his channel. And, if you want to hear what the interview's like, I'm not sure what questions he's going to ask or what he wants me to expound on, but we'll talk about anything he wants. I'm an open book. But yeah, so I mean, this is really great. If you happen to know somebody that's interested in being interviewed, sharing their testimony, I'm going to put the hotline number down here in the comment section or the description section, maybe even on the screen here when I go to edit the video. So if anybody wants to reach out and schedule a time, or you can email us at mikecheckreallife@gmail.com. We have a email address, and or reach out to me on Facebook, or wherever you can find me. Just reach out, and I'd love to interview anybody that has a testimony that offers hope to other people. If you're still stuck, let's get you through the stuck part first. because we want to be encouraging and we want to offer hope. And if you're still stuck, reach out because we'd like to be part of your overcoming, right? We're not supposed to be victims. We're supposed to be victors. And I'd like to be part of helping you take hold of that victory because it's already been won. The victory's already been won. That victory's in Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah. We'd love to be part of helping you come into that victory. And I know that might be hard for some people to hear. Some people don't want to believe. Some people have a hard time believing. They don't see the evidence or anything like that. But I just challenge you, look back in your life. Look at those times when you shouldn't have overcame, when you shouldn't have got through that difficult time. And yet, miraculously, somehow you came through. And here you are on the other side. And I challenge you, I've said it in the past. You don't have to believe in him. He believes in you. You want to challenge him? Challenge him. Just say, make yourself real. I promise you, if you invite him to make himself real, he will make himself real. But he won't force his way into your life. He'll wait for you to cry out to him. He'll let you live your life however you want to live it until you're ready to acknowledge that you're going to just keep breaking it and messing it up, and then only he can correct it. So I challenge you again to reach out to him. With that being said, I'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. I want to thank you for spending your time with me again. You could be doing something else with your time, and you're choosing to spend it here. And I know some of you have to watch these in bits and pieces. You're busy. Maybe you get 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Some people quit after 5 minutes. They don't want to hear what has to be said, and that's okay. They're not in that place. But for those of you that do watch this all the way through, I appreciate you so much. Your support means so much to me. I don't have a financial supporter. Just the fact that you're here watching is support. And I appreciate that. And I have people out there praying. And if you're a prayer, if you're somebody that has a tremendous prayer life or even a small prayer life, you could find just a little bit of time just to mention a couple of words about what we're doing here and pray for this podcast to reach the right people and pray for us, Melissa and I as a family, as we continue to move forward in the endeavors that God has brought us into. Man, we covet your prayers. Thank you so much for those of you that are praying. And thank you so much for those of you that are willing to pray. And we'll start praying now. That's the biggest way that you can support us right now is just to continue praying for us. Pray for the people to come that are willing to share their testimonies. Pray for the people that are sharing their testimonies while they're sharing them, because it is a tough thing to do. And just pray that God would continue to bless it, which I know he will. And pray that we never let it become about us, that we always make it about him. To God be the glory all the time. Remember, I love you. And I can honestly say that now and mean that. I love you. I really want what's best for you. I want you to find that hope. I want you to be victorious. I want you to get to know the Messiah, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. And I want you to have the best life possible, here and eternal. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and end the episode here this week. And I look forward to spending some more time with you here in the near future. God bless you. I love you. Peace.